Now today I'm on a windswept beach just between Ballyhalbert and Portavogie, and it's Butterlump Beach. And the reason I'm here is because we're finding out about the story of the Butterlump Stone, which is right behind me. But the introduction is, years ago we used to come down as children and play around here because my uncle, he had a few pig houses just up on the shoreline there, and a little half an acre of ground as well, and he had a few sows and pigs ran on it. And my dad would have come down to tend these and do the veterinary duties, and we as children would have come down in the car with him and played on the beach here round this huge big stone called Butterlump Stone. So, but I only recently found out that my uncle Willie Cavan, who lived in the centre of Ballyhalbert and owned Cavan's dairies, supplied the milk, the Suki Suncap orange juice and the yoghurt to the whole community round about. And I only recently found out that he, on his deed to the property down on the beach here, Butterlump Stone is included right out round it. So there you are, and I'm only finding out that now. So I have a cousin and second cousins, and we were all kind of interested to hear how my uncle came by this little piece of ground. And Cyril, who is Uncle Willie's son, he's going to relate to us how it came to be in the Cavan family. So here we go.
The Cavan family lived in a little village called Kearney. That was down on the east side of the Ards Peninsula, and I suppose you would call it a little clachan. So, and the people there, they lived either by fishing or agriculture, and my forefathers were in the farming business. They had a little farm of about 40 odd acres, although they lived in the little clachan itself. And my great-grandfather, William Cavan, and his wife, Isabella, they had 9 children in all. And the youngest of those children would have been Andrew Samuel. That would have been my grandfather. And in 1915, he moved lock, stock and barrel up to a larger farm on the south side of Ballyhalbert. Moor Farm, they called it. Some 100 acres or so. And a little sliver of that land would have been known as Butterlump, right beside the big stone here. And there was a terrace of houses, and at the very end of that terrace was a barn, and in that barn, that's where my father reared some pigs. Right. So this little lane that we're walking along now, this would have been the original cart track between Ballyhalbert and Portavogie. That horses and carts.
The A1.
This would probably, or the equivalent, yes, the equivalent.
So Cyril, I see here we're down on the beach, and there's rocks down here. It's a very rocky area, but I was just wanting to ask what actual size area of the property, the land that Butterlump and your father owned, what size of plot of land was it, and what was included in it?
Well, it was quite a sliver, just a small sliver. As far as it would be less than an acre. And you might look at it and say, well, where's the acre of land? But a part of that acre, a good part of that acre, would be this beach here. So although the buildings are just to the south of us here, then there's the grassy knowe there, and it runs right on down to the Butterlump Stone itself. So we're less than an acre. And incidentally, this is perhaps the most easterly point in Ireland here. So
big a claim then, other than Burr Point. This could be a second
claim. Could
for the
be.
most easterly.
We could get into an argument about that. But nevertheless, but your question then about just where is the boundary? So the boundary actually comes down from the buildings down just to the seaward side of that big stone. So that big stone is in our estate at the moment here.
So is it something to do with the sea level or something?
Yes, yes, I'm not quite sure, but it's something like the mean high tide mark or some such. But it takes it just to the seaward side of the big stone there. Okay, so Robbie, just another little item there. I thought that the road that runs between Ballyhalbert and Portavogie was only constructed really in the 60s, I think. And before that, the route was really a cart track. And that cart track goes right along the front of those buildings there. But equally, you know, we're by the sea, and the sea has quite a tale to tell as well, and sometimes a sad tale. One of the things I should have said to you now, in the barn, the main building across there, I understand that the bodies of 3 sailors was kept for a day or two because they were just swept in from a shipwreck out in the sea here. And I understand those 3 sailors were eventually buried up at Glastry Presbyterian Graveyard. And you might ask me, well, what's this about shipwrecks and whatnot? But the thing we need to remember, that the seabed slopes very gently out there. And in rough weather, some of the sailing ships would have got caught on the rocks and just unwrecked into pieces. And indeed now I'm just thinking, the figurehead of, was it the Wild Deer ship or something? It was washed in just further along here as well. And that ended up in Ivan's house some time ago.
Hi, so Cyril, you were saying that most of the rocks and stones and things around here are sandstone, but yet Butterlump is more granite, which is a bit odd for this area. So how was it to come here then?
Now you're really testing my memory here, because going back to my school days, if I remember right, yes, the Butterlump Stone I think is granite, and it's also technically a glacial erratic. And not only that, but I understand that its origins were somewhere around Ailsa Craig on the Scottish coast. And of course, this, if you just imagine in the days of the ice sheet, there could have been half a mile, maybe a mile deep of ice above us here as we sit. So this was just a little bit of debris that was swept by the ice sheets over many, many years and deposited here. And there are other glacial erratics around this area as well on the coast here.
Scottish giant.
No, it wasn't. No, sorry to dampen your excitement there. No. But again, it's now resting on the local rocks, which, as you have said, Benji, is a sort of a mudstone or a sandstone. And you actually, when you look carefully at the rock, you'll see the way it was folded up, squashed up over the many, many years of the glacial action.
We all know that Butterlump is almost a local icon and everybody knows about it, but it's interesting to know that the other large stones in the area also have similar origins, like the Eternity Stone on the the way up the Portaferry Road.
Yep, yeah, that's likely the case. Yes. But you think, Benji, you know, when those were laid down as mudstone or sandstone, that would have been horizontal, and those would have been the seasons probably, each little layer and whatnot, the seasons. And then of course when it was actually the continents sort of coming together, and they sort of pushed all this stuff together, and it ended up with these unusual shapes, and they're all running southwest northeast.
sheep.